Everybody, it is Thursday, October 31st. It is Halloween. My name is Heather Cox. With me today is
Stephanie Stevens, all treats, no tricks.
and we are here with two amazing folks that are going to talk to us about Copilot Wave 2. I got to hit reload on my end there. Weston tried to share the title as a joke, and I would not allow for it. He wanted Cowabunga, hang 10, and I said, sorry about your luck. It's going to be in there. So, Weston and Seth, the show is all yours.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, everybody. So we are here to tell you about some of the recently announced feature updates that are going to be coming to Copilot as part of our big Wave 2 announcements. So my name is Wes Milan. I'm a Senior Cloud Solutions Architect here in EDU, and I'll pass it over to Seth to introduce himself.
Yep, and my name is Seth Chua. Yeah, I was struggling with a mute button, so leave it to the Teams guy to struggle with the mute button. But recognize a few names, but if I haven't met you, my name is Seth Chua. I work on our U.S. education team at Microsoft. My role is technical specialist, so I work with the rest of the folks on the team. And an area that I spend a lot of my time nowadays on is Copilot and Copilot for Microsoft 365. So happy to chat with everybody today. But Weston, I think you're going to kick us off.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get it started. So we've got a whole bunch of new features that have been announced that will be coming to various Copilot apps. We've got a slide at the end with a kind of a rough availability timeline on when you should expect to see some of those. It was my hope that I was going to get to do as much live demo as possible, but even we don't have access to most of these features yet. So we've kind of got some screen shared recordings of demos that we'll just sort of talk through what we're seeing as we talk about each feature. But I think probably the number one biggest announcement for me, at least in this big Wave 2 announcement, is the announcement of Copilot Pages, which is going to be generally available very soon. So this is the very first, I would say, Copilot first durable artifact of the era of Copilot. This is the first application that we've created for Copilot with Copilot in mind. So while we're adding Copilot to other applications, Pages is going to be the first place that was entirely intended to be for Copilot. So I've got a little video here that I'm going to speak along with. It uses a lot of stuff built in already, like Microsoft Loop, to really collaborate a lot of your changes. So right now, Copilot is very much a one-to-one thing, right? You as a user will probably interact with Copilot as like a private conversation. You'll ask it stuff. Maybe here we're accessing like the web version of Copilot to go find information, but collaborating with other people is really hard, right? We're all having private conversations with our own Copilots. This is where this new tool comes into play. So here we're asking a question about EV charging at airports. And there's a new edit in Pages button, and that's going to link this content over to Pages, which is going to work a lot like Loop. The fun thing here is this is multiplayer. I get to go add in all of my colleagues and friends. I can call them out and tag them, and then we get to start collaborating just like we would on Microsoft Loop. So I did a Copilot command over on the left. I pulled all of that information on the right, and now we can all start reviewing and adding things from our own Copilots. So we can continue to ask additional questions. If we like the results, we can then send that on over to Pages as well. And it's a much more collaborative way of doing Copilot, because right now that's not really the thing. Now, the whole web work toggle really starts to make sense here, because we're going to be going back and forth between stuff that's in the public Copilot and stuff that's internal. So here we want to now reference an internal pitch document and link that back over to the page that we've been working in. And so using the web and work toggles, we can go back and forth in our Pages page and continue to collaborate from there. So we're bringing the project plan that we already did over. We're reassigning owners. We're tagging people as a group, and we're all collaborating rather than us individually having those Copilot conversations. So This is very much, going to change the way we collaborate when it comes to Copilot. So here you can see we're then going in and asking Copilot to, in the main page over on the right side, right? We're not pulling data from the left anymore. We're making live Copilot prompts in the pages area that we're all then going in and changing and collaborating on. So yeah, we are super excited about pages. I think this, we already are big fans of Loop anyway. So just being able to actually leverage Copilot in this natively, I think that's going to be huge. So the next update, as a former recovering Exchange server admin, I'm particularly excited about. Just this last week, I learned that there's two kinds of people. So go ahead and get your emojis ready. If you are somebody that has a 0 inbox, if you have no unread messages, throw out a heart. If you're like me and you have many unread messages, throw out any other emoji. There's more of me than there are of you, folks. And so, yeah, combing through all of the emails I get is a difficult task and would take way more time than I think I have to really stay on top of it. And so we have a new feature coming soon for your Outlook client to prioritize my inbox. So I've got another little walkthrough video here that's going to show how that works. So we have a new priority view in your inbox. So you get something from your manager, that should be on the top of your inbox, right? Not at the bottom because it was the first thing that was sent that morning. Also, you can select specific things that you are interested in. So if the text of that message, if Copilot thinks, hey, this appears to be urgent, it will also be able to prioritize that item. Also, you can tell Copilot what is currently urgent right now. So I can go in and say, hey, I'm working on this project. In this case, it's Tailwind Traders. I can say, hey, anything to do with this customer, I want to be generally important. And Copilot will learn that, and it will continue to prioritize items about that customer in my inbox. So all of the stuff that I'm never going to get to will not be shown on the bottom. And then the updates to the mobile app are going to be incredible as well, because we have to often reply and work on a mobile device sometimes, but having short or curt responses is not nearly as good. Also, I don't have time to read an entire email on my phone. So being able to leverage Copilot and tell me what is going on with this email, give me a quick recap, and I want you to write a quick response acknowledging that. I can then ask Copilot to write that for me in a place that I probably wouldn't do it if I had a full Outlook client. I can then go through and tell Copilot I want to change the tone. I want this to be a formal or a less formal message, and I can switch between those modes at will. So rather than typing out a quick 1-sentence response to somebody, I can actually go in and have Copilot help write something that's going to look a little bit more professional and business-like, because it's going to fill that message out in a way that typing it out on your phone probably would just never happen. So that one is coming. I personally can't wait for that one, because I'm going to really start to take charge of my inbox, and never going to get to 0, but hopefully get a little bit closer to y'all. The third update I'm going to cover before I pass the baton on over to Seth is some new updates to Teams Copilot, where Teams will now be able to recap stuff that is in the chat. So one of my big problems, and I don't know if you've noticed this, but I love to participate in the chat way more than taking control of the whole conversation of the call. Oftentimes there are separate conversations that are exclusively happening in the chat. And if people are asking questions previously, if you would ask Copilot to recap a call, it would only recap the actual discussion, and it didn't include any of the chat. Well, that's going to be changing. We're going to be able to have Copilot be able to understand both the discussion and the transcript of the discussion, as well as all of the chat that was going on. So I can ask Copilot, what were the unresolved questions in the meeting? And it's going to be able to pull from both the chat and your actual live discussion transcript. So yeah, that's going to finally include both of those components. So really excited to see that feature coming. I think that's going to really add to the functionality of that. So I'm going to pass it on over to Seth. He's going to chat about PowerPoint and Excel, and then we'll talk a little bit about when you can expect to see some of these items.
All right, sorry about that. I was just taking control. I think I've got control now. So, as Wes mentioned, I've got 3 of the new Wave 2 announcements that I'm going to discuss: PowerPoint and then 2 in Excel. If you're wondering how I got these 2, Wes and I flipped the coin, and he got all the cool stuff, and then I got PowerPoint and Excel. So it's what I got, but I'm here for it. So the first Wave 2 announcement that I'm going to discuss is PowerPoint with Narrative Builder, and although it's not listed here, Brand Manager as well. If you've used PowerPoint or Copilot in PowerPoint to build out a presentation from an existing file or from scratch, you don't have a lot of control over it, or you didn't previous to this. And so Copilot Narrative Builder is going to pass that control back over to the user, and Copilot is really going to be more of a partner building out your first draft of your PowerPoint presentation. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So move slides. And Wes, there we go. Okay, so it was just a little lag on my side. Hey, Wes, I'm going to pass control back to you if you can.
Yeah, sounds good. I will take control of that one.
There's just some lag on my side. Apologies about that.
All right, let me grab that presentation back, and then I'll just hit the animation buttons while Seth
Excellent.
does his favorite John Madden play-by-play recap. All
right, thank you, Wes. So what you'll see is we're gonna, as the user opens up a new PowerPoint, notice I've got my template there, and my Copilot button at the top is going to give me the ability to, similar to how I had in sort of version 1, if you will, create a presentation either from an existing file, so a reference file, if you will. In this demo, they're building it essentially from a prompt. So this is going to be really similar to the experience that you have today on the Copilot flyout. But notice now, as I generate my outline, Copilot's going to give me the opportunity to edit this outline. So it's not going to go ahead and generate the slides. I'm able to move topics, rearrange those topics. I'm able to delete a topic that maybe isn't relevant to my presentation. And then I can also add new topics. So if I wanted to add, in this case, the benefits of EV chargers from Tailwind and reference in an existing document where I didn't have that reference beforehand, I'm able to insert those topics. So I'm going to get an outline for this that's really going to meet the needs that I have. Whereas beforehand, if I were to just feed Copilot a document inside of PowerPoint, it's going to build that outline and then generate the slides for me. So now what we're going to do is similar to how we generated slides before. We're going to do it in slide view. And you can see there we're using organizational branded assets along with templates that your organization might have. So one of the changes that we have with that brand manager is the ability to insert organizational approved images. So we'll insert those into the presentation along with using templates that are part of your organization. So here we're going to create an image, and you'll notice highlighted there, we're going to grab that from what we call the SharePoint Organizational Asset Library. So these would be org approved images. And now I'm going to hop over to Designer instead of me trying to fumble around and insert this image into there. Designer is going to give me some really clean ways to insert that into my PowerPoint presentation. Which you'll also notice if you haven't used PowerPoint before or Copilot with PowerPoint, we also generate speaker notes, hugely beneficial. We'll also do text animation and slide transitions to really give you a clean presentation with it you can use as your first draft, and then you just need to fine tune it a little bit. So speaker notes, transitions are included as well, really give you a closer finished product than previous iterations of Copilot inside of PowerPoint. So Narrative Builder has rolled out. I have seen it in my desktop version of PowerPoint, so that should be available. I think the brand manager, so the organizational assets approved images, that's going to be rolling out soon, I think, is the Microsoft terminology that we use. So a lot of good things coming from a Narrative Builder. Wes, can you move through the next slide? I believe Excel is our last slide. Do a quick time check. Okay, so we had 2 big announcements for Excel. The first one is that Copilot in Excel moved from preview to general availability. So in this demo, what you're going to see is that we no longer need a table that that it was required previously to manipulate data or analyze data. So here I've got just a bunch of raw data. We've actually used the data connector here to pull in some data from a CRM or a sales database, inject that. So I've got about 4,000 to 5,000 rows here of just raw data that I've got, and it's not on a specific, it's not in a specific table. Which you'll notice if you look down at the bottom there, we've also got several tabs, and that's going to be relevant to this first prompt that we build out. So when Copilot went GA, we've got the ability now to analyze the data, and in this prompt, I believe we're going to build out the total revenue for a specific product. So each one of those products, it's going to build out revenue. I don't need to know the formula, but what you'll also notice is that it's pulling the price from the third tab. So it's a different worksheet altogether. So it's pulling the price of those products. I didn't need to specify the existing or the prices or where the Copilot needs to look for those prices, but now it can grab that from a different worksheet altogether and then insert that as a column. So it's going to build out that formula for me, give me the ability to insert that column. And now, great, I've got revenue for each one of my products there. And if you haven't used this, now is where we can get some of the data insights. So let's say that I wanted to look at the total revenue for each one of those categories. Let's say I didn't know how to filter or anything like that. I said, what's the total revenue for each one of those categories? What does that look like? And now I get a quick chart. Oh, it looks like our fast chargers are the most profitable category that we've got. And now where I can use actually conditional formatting to say, I need you to highlight anything that is below this specific threshold. In this example, we're saying if it's below 100K, I want you to highlight that. And now when I look at my data set, I can just visually determine what products don't meet that threshold. So conditional formatting is there. And then we also added the ability to manipulate text inside of, or analyze text within Excel. So no longer it's just data, we can do text analysis there. And so here it's saying, look at this second sheet that I've got, look for any customer CSAT issues that we might have, and Copilot's able to and make inferences from that text to say, these could potentially be problems for you. Here's the top 3 issues. And then again, we're going back to conditional formatting. So I don't need to know how to write that, but Copilot can highlight those customer issues for me. So out of the gate, I always tell folks that I think, in my opinion, that Copilot and Excel had the longest way to go from a functionality perspective, but I think we've come a really long way. And some of these things that are now in GA are going to be really powerful. And I think we're going to help kind of close the knowledge or capabilities gap between your standard user versus your power user. So that being said, that brings me to the second announcement that we had. Was we got a ton of feedback from Microsoft, from those power users of Excel that said, Microsoft Copilot's just okay for me as a power user. And so we said, great, what we're going to do is we're going to integrate Python into Copilot for Excel. And if you're unfamiliar with Python, Python is a programming language that is used to manipulate data. And so now we can do things like really advanced analysis with Copilot inside of Excel using the Python natural programming language. You'll notice now we've got that advanced analysis. So what that does is that's going to essentially invoke Python, and we're going to open up a new workspace for users, and we're going to show the data set that we're loading, as well as potential ways that we can write Python code to analyze the data. And so in this case, there's our data set from that first worksheet that we were working on, and then Copilot's going to perform an analysis on what code it needs to write, and it will give you a visualization of that code there, and then an output of a graph of how it's analyzing this. And so in this case, this is revenue over time, but here's where we get to some more power with Python. Now we can say, can you provide me a forecast for the next 2 years potentially on what my revenue might look like? And so here again, it's going to write that Python code for me and provide me another visualization of potentially based on those trends, what my forecast looks like for the next 2 years. And so I can take that chart then and place it. And then if you can write Python code, you can always go into the workspace there and edit the Python code. Seth Jewell is not going to be doing that. I don't know anything about Python code, but I can see myself using this. So that's just a couple of quick wins on ways you can actually get data analysis. But let's say I wanted to take it a step further and say, all right, now I want to close gaps for customers that maybe aren't meeting my revenue goals. And so here I'm going to go back to my data set and then ask Copilot, here's what I want to do. I'm going to close some revenue gaps or identify customers that are at risk for me. And so here it's going to perform essentially a ranking of my customers based on the potential for an upsell in this case. And so this case, it's because it's sales data. And then I'm going to ask it, how did you rank these users based on, or how did you score these individuals? And then it's going to say, based on these different components, this is how we came up with this score where you can prioritize customers. So a lot of deep functionality around, forecasting, risk analysis, mitigation, data visualization. Now that Python has been injected into Excel, you don't have to be a Python expert. You don't even know how to spell Python. You can use it inside of Excel. So for our power users, a lot of good stuff coming to Copilot in Excel. So I think we can move forward. I think we've got about 5 minutes, and there's our Wave 2 availability chart for everyone.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and stop the recording here.